Welcome to Keeping the Beat, an engaging web series hosted live by TNMEA in partnership with the CMA Foundation. We host programs each night on Mondays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time to learn from and interact with music professionals from around the globe, representing every facet of the vast world of music. Tonight is show 41, which is my husband's lucky number, and he loves your work. He's been watching you for weeks, so it's a special program for me in many ways. Today is Thursday, May 21st, 2020 Central Time, but poor Ayanna, 1 a.m. Friday morning Greenwich Mean Time for those watching in London. Thank you for anyone watching in live time and after the fact. My name's Julie Hill. I'm chair of the music department at the University of Tennessee at Martin, a percussionist by trade and a founding member of our Keeping the Beat program. Tonight, I have the immense pleasure of introducing this amazing musician, which came on my radar last year, and I've just been starstruck ever since. So, Ayanna, thank you for joining us on the program this evening. We're honored.
Oh, my absolute pleasure, Julie. It's so exciting. And I love that this is such an international situation. This is very cool.
Well, we would like it to be more international. You're actually our first international artist.
Yes. Thank you.
Good start for us. So we're going to keep it very casual this evening. I know you're going to do some playing and interacting with the audience, and Carrie and Catherine are on tonight with our team, and they'll be prompting me with questions and comments from the live feed. But I wanted to just start with, how do you become you? What's your upbringing, education? I mean, you're a star. How does this happen?
Julie, that is a great question. And where do I begin? So I was born and raised in London. My grandparents came to London in the Windrush generation in the late 50s, and they settled here post-war to rebuild the country. They were invited. And so that's kind of how I ended up in England. They're from Jamaica. And I grew up in North London studying piano. I studied piano all through primary school. I picked up the cello in secondary school. And so I had this classical music influence. I had R&B and pop and hip hop and jazz and soul and everything else that you might listen to on the radio, at home, hanging out with friends. So I really had like a real mixture of musical influences all through school. What happened? What was the turning point? I guess I went to study classical composition at Trinity Laban. It was then called Trinity College of Music, but it's now called Trinity Laban Conservatoire of Music and Dance. And that's when I really started to find my voice as a writer. And that's when I started to sing and play cello and not just sing and play piano. So I was kind of hustling post-studies or after school in a restaurant, in a Caribbean restaurant, earning money on the side and singing standards with Ruben, my cello. And so that was the beginning, the seeds of what's happening now. And so after that course, I took a year out and I was hustling and, you know, meeting people and whatnot. But then I moved to New York to study composition again at the Manhattan School of Music. And in that time, I guess I blossomed as a composer, but also took part at the Apollo, Amateur Night Live at the Apollo Theatre, and triumphed. I triumphed, Julie, and
wow.
it was so unexpected. A, because I shouldn't have entered because I'm not American, and B, because I won and they found it hard to give me the money. So it was crazy. But with that money, ultimately, I recorded my first EP when I got back home, and that was the beginning of this particular artist journey.
Well, that is so inspiring, Ayanna, and that's what the program is all about. That's an incredible story.
Thank you.
Wow. So would you consider yourself, I think I know the answer to this, but I will just ask it, more composer, or, I mean, the piano background I knew about, or more performer, or just entrepreneur?
I'm both ultimately, but on the surface, I'm definitely more of a performer, and someone who writes songs and wishes to share them and records them and brings my kind of composer hat to pretty much all aspects of that. But in a beautiful way, my composer life has been growing. I've had so many commissions. I've had like 3 orchestral, commissions this year. It's really started to pick up and have its own momentum, which is really exciting.
That's great. So commissions outside of the performance being tied to that at all. That's wonderful.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, do you want to, I mean, I don't want to put pressure on, but.
No, well, let me share something. So this month, actually, one of the earliest orchestral pieces I wrote was recorded by the London Symphony Orchestra, and they just released it this month. So I'd be happy to play you a little bit of that piece. It's called Fair Trade. So yeah, it kind of.
Oh, I love it. I didn't realize earlier when we were doing sound check that was your piece.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, no, it's fine. It's really nice to have the chance to revisit something, because it's not often that an orchestral piece will get more than 1, maybe 2 performances. So it's a real privilege to come back to it and to kind of tighten up the loose edges and have it recorded.
What were your influences there? Obviously, your composition teacher, but who all did they have you listening to that influenced that piece? It's beautiful.
Thank you. I think at the time, because this is maybe like 10 years ago or so. So at the time, I remember loving Berrios' music. I don't know if that's necessarily in there in an obvious way, but Berio is a composer. Frank Zappa, I was listening to a lot of Frank Zappa at the time as well. And I think I just had a wild imagination and just wanted to make 3D a situation. So for me, that piece is all about sweatshops and the kind of fast fashion industry. And is it really, are we really in a fair trade with a lot of the people that create these clothes and stuff? So I wanted to picture the factory itself, the hierarchy, the relationships between the workers and the people that own the businesses and all of that. So there's a lot of visualizing in 3D.
No, it's beautiful. That's very deep. I remember the first time I heard Berio and I was just like,
yeah.
Definitely felt shallow until I heard his music.
Beautiful. So yeah, so that was that headspace.
Well, that's good. Have you gotten any feedback from that already?
Yeah, so it's on Spotify and it's just been going crazy. Like people have been listening to it nonstop in the past couple of weeks, and some lovely messages on Instagram.
How would our listeners find that tonight? Because Carrie and Catherine, who are helping, can post that.
Oh, wonderful. So yeah, if you go to the London Symphony Orchestra Spotify page, it'll be the last thing they've released, that album. It's called Polyphonic Legacies, and the piece is called Fair Trade. It's the first piece up. Or if you go to my Spotify page, it'll be in my featured on list.
Beautiful. We will get So I know we have some pieces tonight that you would like to feature, and I'm, again, as a percussionist, I'm very and a person who's been trying to learn cello since COVID took over, and I'm playing bluegrass cello, nothing that you would ever want to hear, but I'm plucking. But I find it interesting that I can't use the bow. I'm not a string player.
Okay.
And I'm like, wow, Ayana plucks the cello and bows the cello, of course. But
Yeah.
well, what were some of those? Maybe you could talk about some experimental techniques that are percussive. I heard your right foot and your clave pattern on
Yes.
which I love.
In fact, just so that your audience can see what's going on here. So this is Penny. This is my jam block. She was originally an actual cowbell on here, attached to my drum kick pedal. And so that goes on in my right foot.
Love the name.
And, and then various things happen on top with Ruben. So I came back from Cuba. I went to Cuba a few years ago now. And when I came back, I wrote a song for my mum called Unconditionally, which is the last song on my debut album, Roadrunner. And so all the way through that song is this rumba clave, which sounds like this. Like that, which you'll know, Julie. So that's happening. And then at certain points, so that will be happening underneath the voice, just to kind of augment the percussive carnival party that we've got going on. Or at times I'm kind of bowing. So I think a lot of like how I enjoy playing and singing is just to really use the bow percussively as well as arco, just to kind of add to the groove of the vibe. You are the source of my love, and you are the essence of truth, and you grow as I grow too, because nothing comes between me and you, yeah. I see you, yes. So it's like
It just seems so natural to use the bow as a like it's a hand, an extension of the hand.
yes, yeah.
And it bounces like a stick for drums.
Yeah.
I mean, you get diddles.
I don't know.
I hear that. Sorry.
Yeah, and it is in there. I don't know if I'm controlling it as much as I don't know if it's as controlled as it can be.
Right.
When I watch drummers do those exercises, paradiddle, diddle, paradiddle.
Yeah, but you can tell you're pushing down, right,
Yes.
or letting the rebound help.
That's right. Yeah. So there is like a looseness, but also a boundary to it.
Sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow, it's fascinating. did I'm just again mesmerized by the percussiveness of how you play, but did you see anyone do that, or I mean, is this just all you? Because that's just kudos.
You know what? When I first started, I hadn't seen anyone sing and play cello, but it was almost necessity because I had this gig and I needed to accompany myself. And I originally wanted to play piano, but she didn't have one. So me bringing the cello was like, is this a thing? I don't know if this is a thing. I hadn't, but I had played pieces growing up with, I knew of spiccato bowing. I knew of, and so I had this foundation of, okay, I can do fun things. When I moved to America, I actually went on I found a cello camp because someone said, oh, there are other people who do this. And I was like, oh, wait, really? How exciting. And so someone gave me a link and I went to Vermont to spend some time with Eugene Friesen. Do you know Eugene?
I don't.
He's a cellist in Vermont, and he has these really cool cello camps, or used to back in the day. And that's when I met other people like me. I was like, oh, there's other people like me. So that was a beautiful moment for me to just kind of like see different things and to share and to feel validated and like, oh, this is a thing.
And I'm curious with obviously with some of the information you shared about the latest commission with the London Symphony and subject matter, you know, the fact that you play the cello like a cajon, and the ties there to its roots in Cuba or Lima, which still seems to be disputed, but Afro-diasporic music to be sure.
Yes.
I mean, do you just go by sound completely, or did you take a percussion lesson ever? I mean, I see the way.
No, I just go by sound. So I've got a song called Give In to Sin, which is on that first EP I recorded. Yep. And it kind of starts with this kind of bass snare. I can looking for rim shots.
Like, it works great.
Sometimes it changes. So I like to do that. You cushion my fall, restored my being. You forgave the mess and crowned me queen. And then you can bring in the.
Oh, it's. Sorry, I lost your video for a second.
No, it's fine.
No,
you should get your cello. We should do something.
Oh, no, ma'am. I would play it like a cajon only. I will not embarrass myself. No, it's interesting. That's such a resonant body, and being a percussive instrument, and then just the way you explore the traditional and the progressive elements of it are just lovely. And so
thank you.
So thrilled to learn about your music. So what do you want to tell to the people that are listening tonight about Ayanna? What do you do? What is your mission?
Yeah, so I guess the kind of music I make, I want people to feel their emotions, to feel inspired. I guess my umbrella is inspirational music to kind of lift the spirit, music to make you think about your community, people you know, people you love. A lot of people often ask me to sing at their weddings. It's kind of like in the emotional realm and in the realm of like connecting with other people in a beautiful way. So I want people to go for their dreams, like you, starting the cello, you know, just playing, and it may not be music, but whatever it is that you have in your heart to do, to just take a chance, take a risk and go for it.
That's lovely. Let's see, we are getting a few questions coming in. I think my wonderful friends Carrie and Catherine are handling that. Let's see, from Edward Freitag, and he is in my home state of Tennessee, a great music educator, percussionist as well, by the way.
Great.
He's seen a lot of the shows. Ed's been really fantastic. He says, Ayanna, I've seen some of your videos. I love that you're combining classical with jazz, pop, R&B, etc. Kudos to you for being unique. So I don't know if you want to comment on that.
Oh, thank you very much. And I think it's just always nice to be everything that you are. And I think everything I sound like is just a combination of things I love and things I've listened to and enjoyed. So it's really nice that someone else can kind of see that and hear that and appreciate it ultimately. So thank you.
Well, now that you say that, this is a question I would ask later if we needed, but it draws me, Ed's comment is, who were some of your greatest, I mean, you said Barrios, but your other influences in terms of pop music or R&B or any of the things that have led you to be influenced? Yeah, who are those greats?
Now, I have to start with Nina. Because when I first kind of sang and played piano, she was definitely that person that I tried to learn the music and the sheet music, and that was where I really heard that classical blues jazz mix. Right. So Nina's in there, Sting is in there, Erykah Badu is in there, Stevie Wonder. As a songwriter, I think Stevie is just definitely my hero, God hero. So
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, Stevie's in there. Bach is in there. Yeah, there are now like a million of us. need more artists. I think anyone who I've ever seen perform live, be them an orchestra or just any live performer, somehow always feeds my kind of imagination. So any Diane Reeves, I'm thinking of, Pat Metheny.
Oh,
oh my gosh, so many people, so many people.
Well, you mentioned Sting, and I know this is probably like your burden of Freebird as it is here in the South. But can you give us just a wee bit of a taste of Roxanne?
Oh, yeah.
We shared that on our page earlier.
Oh, yeah.
So incredible.
You don't have to put on a red light. Those days are over. You don't have to say I'm ready to the night. Roxanne, you don't have to wear the dress tonight. Walk the streets for money. You don't care if it's wrong or if it's right. Roxanne, you don't have to put on the red light. Roxanne, you don't have to put on the red light.
Wow. Woman, you are amazing.
Thank you.
My goodness. You are a real talent in so many ways. I'm so impressed. I'll let you catch your breath.
Oh, no.
Thank you for doing that.
I'm here.
I am interested in asking, we try to not make this too COVID specific because you could go down that road and only that road.
Yes.
But I imagine that your gigs for the unforeseeable future have been changed or maybe just transformed, and that would include opportunities for creative projects possibly. So could you talk about that a little bit?
Absolutely, and you're totally right. The day of maybe a little bit before lockdown, but definitely in the weeks just after lockdown was like officialized. Everything was cancelled successively, like, oh, we're going to postpone till next year. So some things are like happening next year, and some things are live streamed like this or pre-record for people who have got tickets. So some festivals are able to kind of go online and some not. And it's just going to be next year, fingers crossed. But also I had a couple of collaborative commissions that were kind of in full flow. And so those have been paused, and I'm hoping we can get back to them at the end of the year, but I don't know. It all depends, because when you're trying to organize dancers and venues and you don't know when you can even get into a space or meet as a group. So it's really hard to reschedule certain things, but luckily, because I can do the kind of solo performance, it makes it easier for those particular gigs to still happen remotely.
So are there things that have happened that weren't necessarily advantageous that you will keep doing in the long term? I know I'm an administrator and a teacher still in part, and there have been quite a few things that have pushed us along to items we wanted to have changed before.
Okay.
Are there any takeaways like that that you will keep, do you think?
There's a few. It's made me realize how much time I spend traveling. And I think just being really aware of when you need to travel to somewhere and when you can just jump on a Zoom and kind of have a quick meeting and then get back to what you're doing. So I think it's really helped me to just see where I can spend more time creating, less time traveling for things unnecessarily. But also, I think knowing that there's a lot that I can do in terms of recording in my own space. I think in my mind I had the process that, oh, I need to go into a studio to do that. Like I need to go there to do that. But actually, I've got I can do more than I imagine I can.
No, I mean, that's very evident from our tech setup. And I was like, she has got it. Like, as a percussionist, I always feel like that. We feel like we have all the logistics, and it's like,
Yes.
she's a band. You do not, I'm sure it's nice to have the London Philharmonic behind you, but you don't have to have that, So people that are part of ensembles are much more restricted.
Yes, that's true. And I think, to be fair, I have enjoyed playing with the band. A lot of the gigs that were cancelled, some of them were with my band. But it is nice to be self-sufficient. And I think most people can be, but it takes time and it takes patience, and it would take reframing what you're doing. And in a way, this is the time to reframe. And we do have time to rethink how we want to take things going forward. But I'm staying positive, because otherwise the alternative is not so great.
No, that's very evident. Okay, so we have a couple more comments here. Oh, Amy, sorry, this is from my 20+ year trio member in my percussion trio, Kaisha Trio, Amy Smith, who's in El Paso, Texas. Hi, Amy. And Amy's amazing. She says, Ayana, thank you so much for sharing your beautiful music. I teach orchestra at an all-girls school in El Paso with a mostly minority population. It's mostly Hispanic population there. I've been to the school.
Okay.
I will definitely be sharing your music with my students. Do you have suggestions for resources my students can access online for exploring the extended techniques that you use in your playing?
Oh, fun. That's a nice idea for me to develop a bank of resources to be able to share. So thank you, Amy, for that. A friend of mine, his name is Christian Howes. I don't know if you know Christian. He's a jazz violinist. He has a lovely website and encourages all musicians, but I guess mainly string players, to improvise. And he's got loads of free videos on YouTube that kind of go through different styles of music. Actually, some bluegrass, some gypsy jazz, just funk, R&B, Latin grooves. So he's really fun. His name's Christian Howes.
Okay, we'll try to post him in the comments too.
Yes.
Amy, thank you for that question. Ayanna, I don't think in this program is about you, not me, but I just wanted to say one of my specialty areas is Northeastern Brazilian music. And when you talk about improvising over classical genres, choro music, are you familiar with that from Brazil? C-H-O-R-O?
Choro? No, I've heard
you
of
choro. Love this music. It's all the things it's like bluegrass goes to Brazil. You will love it.
No way.
So I would love to talk to you about that after the program today.
Yes, thank you.
No, but you will absolutely love it. But I find it interesting in one sense that, people need to read music, but those who start as readers feel paralyzed by the fact that they're scared they're going to miss a note and they won't improvise, especially if they get to adulthood. And so the importance of improvisation and reading both and balance at a younger age, I think as an educator is really important. I don't know if you want to comment on that at all, or did you start out with that confidence or exposure, or how did you explore that?
I'm so glad you brought this up, because it's really it's a huge topic, and I think it's a big part of Christian's work, actually. The fact that, I mean, for me, I was purely a reader all through my training, just even up until my early 20s, I would say. I read really well. I sight read really well. So that's my foundation, super classical from an instrumental perspective. And I've taught myself, how to read chord symbols, how to improvise, and that's a lifelong journey. I think that just grows with you, and my confidence is constantly growing. I think one nice thing to do every day is just to freely improvise for 5 minutes and put the timer on. 5 minutes, play anything, but start from like an emotion or an object or a feeling or a quote, and don't worry about the rules. Worry about how can I get the sound to match the feeling that I have or the feeling I want to express.
I love that. I just, so many people are so scared because they're accomplished musicians.
I know.
They're scared to sound bad. So that's how you get better.
But also you can just play one note
Yep.
somewhere in a groove and it sound amazing. So if following the changes and playing the changes, and it's challenging, it's challenging for incredible improvisers. So whilst you're building that confidence, just find 1 or 2 notes that fit somewhere in it. And then we start with music you love and you like. It helps.
No, I love that. By limiting the options, you say play one note, you're focused on the rhythm.
On the rhythm.
And that's a little bit less intimidating, possibly.
Yes.
It's great advice. We have a few more questions. Are you okay with?
Oh yeah, hit me with the questions. I love it.
Okay. From, I think I know this, Brent is one of my former students, but Brent Hopper asks, what led you to start songwriting? And I know you said you had composition lessons, but maybe outside of that.
Oh no, that's a good point. Yeah. Songwriting. So this Nina Simone chapter. When I left secondary school, I wasn't able to study music at secondary school because it was a very academic school. There weren't enough people wanting to do it.
Right.
And a friend of mine said to me, can you, do you want to come with me to a jam session? My boyfriend's friend is playing and you'd love it. So I got there and they wanted me to jump on stage and do something. And I really didn't know what to do. I didn't know that there were standards and all of that kind of language. So I was like, I'm going to come back in like 3 weeks. So I did come back in 3 weeks and I had written the song. It was called When I'm Playing. And that was my first kind of real song. So it was out of a desire to perform something that sounds like me. And I just sat down and wrote this song. It had a kind of bluesy riff in the left hand and it had this vocal on the top. I can't say I knew why I felt like that would work for me, but it just came out. That's just something I felt like I had to do. So, but I have done a lot of online study. I've done various courses. I took a songwriting module at Manhattan School of Music. I'm always curious and interested about how to improve my lyric writing. So that's a constant journey, songwriting.
Great answer. We've got a couple more here. And I'm assuming these people know you.
Oh.
Lauren Facey.
Yes, hello.
Okay, I thought so. Loving this interview, exclamation point, Ayana. When was the first time you realized, with British spelling, that's how I knew, that you realized with S, that you were impacting people through your music? That's really sweet. You have friends in the UK staying up to watch tonight too.
I know. Thank you, my love. When did I know? Oh, that's a good question. I would say I was young, maybe 10 or 11. And I played Scott Joplin's The Entertainer on piano for a school ceremony. And I remember it just having this impact on the audience. And even as a performer, I went to like theatre school, like kind of weekend arts theatre schools, and I used to do drama and act and perform, and I've always felt that connection with the audience, so quite young.
No, I think it's important for any of the educators listening as well. You know, you saying that, I have the same memory from being chosen to play tambourine in the 4th grade for a school musical, and I was 9. Those, you know, when you're lifted up like that and you're like, I'm good at this, I can be good at
Yes.
something. But
Yeah.
equally, when people tear you down by saying you can't do something, it's just, it's harmful as it is positive on the flip side. So we have to be
Very
careful of
true.
um,
Yeah, so true. And I think the younger you start in terms of feeling comfortable being on stage and performing, it kind of, I think it sets the foundation and makes it easier to kind of try more challenging things
of course.
as
You
you
have,
grow.
you have to have confidence and
Yeah.
practice.
Mm,
Do you have some dance background, or did I dream that?
I do.
Can you talk about
So,
that a little bit?
yeah, I used to be in like a dance troupe, a street dance troupe, in my early teens, mid-teens. I love dance. Basically,
Me too.
I want to be a dancer. It's still a dream. It's still a passion of mine. And I do dance. I dance in some of my music videos. So it's something that I think is one of my callings, really. And there was a fork in the road where I was either going to study dance, go to drama school, or go to music college. And I made a choice to kind of go for music in an official capacity.
I know we don't know each other well, but I feel like you're my long lost little sister. I'm a dancer. I want
Yeah,
to, so it's
yeah,
rhythm and all those things all together. How you feel viscerally, things, and feel the music in your body, and dance is
yes,
a great way
yeah.
to show that.
Mm.
Okay, we have another question. Might be from another friend of yours. I'm not sure. Do you know Nita Smith?
Oh, yes.
So Nita is awake as well. Thank you, Nita. And she says, Ayanna, have you worked with any African American conductors? And if so, whom and what was the event?
Oh, African American conductors. I'm gonna say
I thought she might
no.
have some knowledge there, or maybe I thought she might be prompting you for a
I've
specific.
I've worked with a choral conductor called Alex Douglas in my kind of early composition days in London. We worked, I used to sing in his gospel choir. We would sing Take Six arrangements
Oh my
and
God,
the like. I know. I forgot to say Take Six. I love
so great,
it.
definitely.
So yes, as a conductor, I've worked with Alex, but not in an orchestral setting. No.
Well, I might be able to just add on to Nita's question and just say, being involved in a lot of diversity movements. I mean, we're both women,
Mm,
and the fact that we want to promote diversity in the arts, and the arts is a great way to do that. My husband loves sports, and I think sports and the arts are both ways to be really inclusive.
yeah.
But we also, at this point, have moved past like pointing out that this is by a woman composer. We don't want to
Mm,
have to point that out anymore. I mean, the issue, you just make great music. You know, I don't want to be
yeah.
recognized as a female percussionist.
Yeah.
Never have been. So, you know, what have your experiences with diversity been recently? How have you seen some positive, I hope, changes in terms of working with diverse artists, or how have you been maybe, you know, treated differently? I just recognize now in the art form that people aren't saying woman composer. I'm going to perform a concert of all women composers, because women don't want to be identified as women composers. They just want to be great composers.
A composer, yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's still a thing.
Yeah.
I wish it wasn't a thing, but I think it is. There's still programs, female composers, radio programs will play music by female composers, but it is pushing through the door music that honestly might just be overlooked. So it's an unfortunate it's unfortunate that we're still having to do that, but we do still have to do that. And there's been this initiative called 50-50, is it called? Key Change 50-50, by having like making sure that the festivals in Europe at least have at least 50% women and men, male artists. So there's still a necessity for it, but I'm hoping it won't be for that much longer because it's just getting a bit old now. Just need to get it together.
Good because we're good, but it's nice to figure out the way to make the change. No, that's a great point. Okay, Catherine, who's running our technology this evening, and then I'll let you, if you feel like playing something else, I know you had several things you wanted to play or sing. Catherine says, as a touring musician, I think this is so important. How do you find time to both practice, but just take care of yourself and your family and find that work-life balance?
I've now started doing like self-care Sundays. So just making sure if I don't have to, don't do anything on Sunday, except for self-care and anything you choose to do for you. I sleep. I have no trouble sleeping. I always get like 8 hours of sleep. So I think that's just one basic kind of self-care thing that needs to happen. Sleep.
Paulette was so sweet in setting this up, your manager. I said, this is going to be 1 a.m. Greenwich Mean Time. Can, you know, because I didn't know you at all. I said, is Ayanna going to be okay with that? And she said, yes, I'll just make sure she has a nappy. She has to have a sleep. I thought that was so cute.
It's true. I had my nap earlier today. I did. So sleep. Also, I've started running just to kind of stay fit. And I realized I wasn't getting enough exercise, which is what this corona time has taught me. I need to exercise. So I feel really good for doing like 3 runs a week, eating generally healthily. So I know it's active. I know I'm going to be busy, but just making sure that I've got sleep, exercise, and decent food, and time to connect with friends and family when I can. That's probably as good as it gets right now.
Beautiful. This is purely being nosy, but what part of London do you live in?
I'm in North London, near Alexandra Palace.
Been there many times. So
yeah.
I forgot to ask you that earlier. Would you maybe want to play a little something else?
Yeah. I'm going to play a little something. I'm going to play a song, actually, a little bit of Romeo. So I wrote this song. It was commissioned by the Hip Hop Shakespeare Company using Shakespeare's words to create a love song cycle. And this is one of the songs that came out of it. Call out to the stars, let them know that I am ready for love. Who gets to decide? Well, when Cupid's arrow lets go. And the cause of true love never did run smooth. Still I'm ready for you. Yes, I'm ready for you. Had I no right but ears, my ears for love. Oh, and that day I would pause, move each part of me. Neither eyes nor ears did unsee could change me. Still I'm ready for you. Yes, I'm ready for you, yeah. Around me, oh, yes. Are you ready for my love? Around me, oh, yes. Said, are you ready for my love? Oh, yeah.
My God. I'm just so blown away. Okay, the last thing that you did with it sort of sounded like Like, how did you make that happen?
Yes, that is my sul ponticello. So that's when you just bow really close to the bridge. Yeah.
Ah, okay.
So you can do molto sul pont, which basically turns into white noise.
Oh, it's so cool. It sounds like electronic music. I mean,
Yes.
multiphonics.
It's all the partials being activated. Yeah, absolutely.
I don't want to ask you too many things. You're
Oh,
working.
ask, yeah.
We got about 15 minutes left. Are you okay?
Completely fine. Yes, I'm loving it.
Well, thank you. Thank you for making me feel good.
Yeah.
I once had a dream, and it was ridiculous, but it was a dream. But it was Bill Clinton came into my band room. I know it was a dream. And it was my first band directing job. And he said, Julie, I would like for you to be the minister of music for the United States. And I had just started going to Brazil, and there was a minister of culture, Gilberto Gil, was in that position in the cabinet at the time. And I thought that was just so lovely that they had, I mean, Brazil has its own fair share of problems, but the fact that they acknowledged the arts in
Mm.
this way really stuck with me. And of course, that did not happen with my dream in any way. I woke up and I pinched myself, but it kept me thinking about people like you. You are the perfect ambassador for not just music, every bit of the arts. If I was the prime minister, your prime minister right now, I would call you on the phone and I would ask you if you would somehow take a job
Be involved.
being ambassador for the arts and more. What a fabulous role model you are. So I just wonder, do you have any noble aspirations? Like if you could have your dream gig, I mean, would it be just performing, composing, or are there some things more tied with social change? I mean, granted, the society is not going that way right now with our president, but
Do you know what? I think things have become so compartmentalized. So you go to music lessons and you learn, and you're either a musician or you're not, you're either a dancer or you're not, you're either a singer or you're not. And I just think everyone can benefit from playing, singing, dancing, just partaking in some kind of music making. And most people do because they have favorite artists, they sing along in the shower and whatnot. But just to make it a little bit more communal and less this is your thing and no one else can do that thing. I just think everyone can benefit from having that vibration. I think it's important for people to vibrate at a good frequency. So I think if more people played, or we had more spaces where people can play together and not feel as if, oh, I need to be at a certain level in order to do this. And there should be, orchestras and concerts and places where people who really like push and excel in a certain space can share. I think that should always be there. But also I think as communities, because it's kind of intergenerational, you can have like your 90-year-old grandma playing with your 5-year-old sister. I just think it could really work as a society to have that.
Absolutely. And I think that we did that for tens of thousands of years. And
Didn't we? Yeah.
Right. So we need it.
Yeah.
But you haven't had such dreams of the perfect job. If the prime minister, Ayanna, I love what you do. Create your position to help create change in the UK and beyond. What would that be?
Ooh, I think I would. Well, I do want to set up these, I guess they're artist retreat centers. So you'd have different spaces where professionals can come and feel restored and share their skills with the community. And there'd be like evening sessions where people come and play and meditate and share. So I would just have these beautiful residential spaces up and down the country where it'd be a hub for kind of music and restoration and healing and sharing. So
I love that. I know there's a place in Vermont here in the States that does that. Two of my colleagues have gone there, and but setting that up for anyone, along the countryside would be beautiful. That's lovely.
Yeah.
How you sort of I assume that was meditation before the program started. But
Oh yeah, I was like this, taking in my deep breaths and centering and really thinking about the intention. I thought about my intention before we jumped on, and I was like, my intention is to be of service to the people listening, to share with them what I know, and to kind of give any information that I have that can be useful, and to raise the vibrations and to bring joy to the listeners. That's what we're here for.
been accomplished in all way, always, always. I got one question here from Carrie, who's on our team,
Oh.
and one of my graduates, like Catherine. And Carrie says, hi, Ayanna. Thank you for being with us tonight. I teach elementary school music, and she's in Memphis, Tennessee. Part of my job is to inspire students to take music. Sorry, I have where I can't see everything. For the rest, sorry, to make music for the rest of their lives. Do you have any advice for our young musicians who might be interested but scared to get started?
Oh, I think this might be an extension of what I was talking about, the 5-minute improvisation. Maybe if they kind of kept a musical journal, so you say to them, you know, what were you up to last night with your family? Like, how was dinner? You know, what's your favorite color? I think there are so many little moments of kind of entry to use music to help describe something or to share an emotion. And I think having like a musical diary is a fun way for them to kind of see music as a way of expressing yourself and not just performing for people or trying to get people to like you.
Very good answer. I always ask a question about with performers like you, but do you have any, I was going to say, do you have any special gigs that you're looking forward to in the next year, or how is that, how far out are you canceling? And maybe you can't say this without, you know, risk of certain unknowns, but how far are you safely keeping things on the calendar right now?
Everything between March and November is shaky. Most of that has disappeared in a sense. There are still tentative dates in October and November, but not with any certainty.
With small groups or you alone?
Both with the band and solo. So
right.
It's shaking. Even the things booked in for next year, we hope everything's going to be okay by this time next year.
Yeah, the date I keep hearing here in terms of my music circles with our national societies are March of 2021 for larger events. And I don't know, are there people talking about spacing things out and just limiting?
Yeah, I think one of the orchestras, they were talking about having instrumentalists sit 2 meters, everyone in the orchestra sit 2 meters, you know, the direction from each other, but that's not going to work unless the stage is like 5 times bigger than it already is.
Well, it's interesting. I've never thought so much about spit as I have, because it's a music chair. I'm a drummer. You know, I could spit when I play, but I try not to. It's not a necessity of the job. But string players also, you know, you sing, of course, but a lot of string players, mouth is closed.
Yeah.
But for the wind players and the choirs, the singers, it's
completely the projection is the brass, the trombones.
We're taught to force
sound
quality, so it's brought some interesting. Who knows?
I don't know. I mean,
well, we're about 6 minutes from the close of the program, and we've got some more questions coming in. But you might want to play one more thing, and then we can do a few questions and finish. Or if you don't, that's fine too.
I'll play a little bit of the song I won with at the Apollo Theatre. I don't know if your audience are familiar with Sojourner Truth's Ain't I a Woman speech that she made in 1851.
I'm married to a historian. So.
Hey, you definitely know, yes.
He's listening.
Hey. So I did a project with some young people in London, and they asked me to to write a song, and this is the song that came out of that project and traveled with me to America. In 1851, Sojourner Truth made a speech at the Women's Convention in Akron, Ohio. The man over there says that women need help into carriages and lifted over ditches into heaven, best place anywhere. Nobody ever helps me into carriages or lifts me over ditches or gives me the best place anywhere. Ain't I a woman? Look at these arms. I have love planted and gathered into vines, and no man could heed me. Ain't I a woman? I can work as hard, oh, and eat as much as a man, oh, and buy the lash.
I can't even talk about that. My husband's clapping here for.
Thank you.
Wow. I won't be able to get you on your next US tour. You'll be too big of a star.
Darling, I'll always have time for you. You'll
Thank
be my
you.
first.
Remember
US
the little
stop.
people. No, I'm really just, wow. I'm blown away by your personal mission, but also your talent. They're very
Thank
cool.
you.
So what a lovely human being that I'm so honored to have shared some time with this evening.
Thank you, my lovely. Thanks for having me. Honestly, you really persevered. I must say, big up to Julie, because you persevered when the emails weren't going through. So thank you.
We figured it out. We had a little
We did. Yeah.
spam problem. We've got one final question.
Yes.
I want to ask Gary Reeves. Oh, we have two final questions. Gary says, Ayana, you are so right about the arts and meditation and how important these things are for people and communities. Thank you so much for sharing your time and talents. Sorry, not a question, but just
a comment. Thank you, darling. Yeah, welcome and thank you.
And one final comment from Nita again. This was awesome. Ayana, you have such a sweet spirit. You're a multi-talented and incredibly gracious. Thanks for sharing.
Oh, thank you, sweetheart. And good luck with the journey with the young people. Well, no, were you the journey with the young people? Oh, I'm getting confused.
No, it's okay. Everyone has a journey with young people. It works for everyone. But I want to go ahead and wrap up this evening and just say a few closing remarks to our viewers. Many people will watch after the fact as well. This will be on YouTube Live, and I've told this, shared this with Paulette, but if she wants to share on your social,
yeah,
all is fine. But we'll have a lot of viewers after the fact. For you folks who watched tonight in the UK and are on live right now, we're so grateful. We really do want to make this a global program. And Carrie and Catherine, if you guys can post how to apply to be a host on the show. For those of you, you don't have to be Ayana to be a host. We love that, of course, but we welcome every facet of music profession and want to help support those who are up and coming in their careers and those who are stars like we have seen with Ayana this evening. So if you friends on Keeping the Beat by TNMEA could post that link. You can also see the calendar of the upcoming artists, and we have many, many, many great artists coming up. The goal of the program is to help provide inspiration and education to those students and music educators who are at home and also to help those who are out of gigs right now, those who are struggling a little and have lost some work. We can't provide a ton of money for them, but if we can provide a little exposure to help support their careers, then that's a mission accomplished for us. We are Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday evenings, 7 p.m. Central Time, 1 a.m. Greenwich Mean Time. And it is 2 now for sweet Ayanna, who has stayed up. I want to mention that we have some great artists coming up very soon. We have the great trumpeter for Billy Joel, Carl Fisher, the guitarist, songwriter, she's Canadian, Lindsay L., for those of you who know her. Many other stars coming up, and also other up and coming entrepreneurs who would love your support, that are doing great things as well. I want to thank Catherine and Carrie for co-hosting this evening. You can't see them, but they've done all the work, and my picture's the one on, so I deserve none of the credit. And again, this is hosted by our Tennessee Music Educators Association, the Country Music Association Foundation, and the UTM Department of Music. Our staff volunteer their time to help. So thank you, Ayanna. I feel like I have a new friend. I have a new soul.
Yes. And then when I come over, we'll do bluegrass. You'll show me some bluegrass.
You have to remember Shoro.
Shoro, okay.
H-O-R-O, Shoro Famoso. I'll send you some links, but
perfect.
This is what I'm working on right now. I know it's stereotypical, but I can actually play every note. It's a 5-minute piece that takes me 20 minutes, but I can do it. But,
well done, my darling.
No, but I pick it. I can't use the bow.
That's fine. It sounds just as beautiful.
Bluegrass Bach. Yeah, you're so lovely.
Thanks for having me, darling. And we'll see each other again in person, hopefully next time.
Okay, great.
All the best. Bye. Thank you, Catherine and Karen. Bye.